Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? Samantha? Come in. Samantha? Kirk to Enterprise. Are you there? Samantha? Don't leave me here by myself. Come on.
Well, I told you could be funny for this, and you're just not doing anything.
What am I supposed to be doing? Oh, we're going to continue our discussion on feminism. Is that correct?
Why did you just pull away from the mic like that?
Because we're sharing a mic?
Stop telling everyone our trade secrets. All right, here, if you'll recall, we were talking about sports teams and women's and men's. I'm leaving. Enjoy the rest of the episode. I really want to clarify. I feel like that has genuinely been so destructive for, I think it's been destructive for feminism in general, because the issue is,
Traditional feminism.
And I am a huge fan of a bunch of different sports teams. I watch the U.S. women's national soccer team, I watch their games and all that. Huge fan. I've been a fan for like 12 years or something like that.
Yep.
And I remember at first when I saw that they were having this whole debate about, well, the men get paid millions of dollars and we're over here getting paid like 30,000 or whatever it is. And I'm like, whoa, well, that's not fair. Classic men getting everything, right? Like, what is that? It's one of those things on the surface. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that doesn't seem fair. And if I don't do any more research, then I'm going to agree and go and do your thing.
Right.
Which is why research is super important. Because here's the thing. If you look, and this is my argument for all sports issues with men and women, if you look at how much money each organization brings in, what are you going to pay your women more than they bring in? Right. That's not a sustainable business model, okay? Right. And so what needs to happen with these organizations is it's more about putting money into the organization and into marketing, like they've done with the WNBA in the past, like 2 seasons with Caitlin Clark and all of that, and like getting more games on TV and all of that. Right. That's what they need to be doing, so that women can get to the point where it makes sense to pay them more.
These sports, though, is a business like everything else, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm not disagreeing with what you just said, but I guess my point is, if I'm okay, you have to be a rich person to own a sports team. But if I'm involved in that, if I'm in that world, right, I'm not, and I don't think most of these guys are saying, well, no, I don't want to worry about the women. I'm just going to worry about the guys, right? Or if I do, it's not going to be based on because I'm anti-women. It's going to be based on, no, it's just going to be based on where I think I'm going to make more money, right?
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So the issue is you need people, and this is what we've seen over the past few years, that are willing to kind of make that leap and make that sacrifice and say, look, I'm a multimillionaire over here and I'm making money off this men's basketball team. I'm going to go ahead and invest in the women's too, because if I don't, who's going to?
But don't you think there are people who have done that and they didn't do that well? And this is gradually changing, but it's a process.
It is. And that's the whole point I'm trying to make. I think because this was, what was this, in 2017, 2018-ish maybe, that they tried to get more WNBA teams or that they had more and then they cut them because they weren't making enough money and all this stuff. Right. They didn't do it the right way. Now, I feel like they have so much momentum with Caitlin Clark and with, like Paige Beckers and people that are coming up that a lot of people are actually interested in, that they should be funneling more money.
Well,
and
now
they
should.
They
should. Like Caitlin Clark, because of all the records she broke and everything, and she's kind of like a phenom.
Pete Maravich.
I know, which is huge. She's a phenom. So obviously she's
That's your
making like a big
signal
difference.
to
But what I
flip
was
the
going to say is,
switch.
because even where the guys are concerned, right? If you think about you've had like the USFL, the XFL. Now these are just specifically football leagues, but you've had lots of different sports leagues that have come and gone, right? That they've just never caught on. And so a lot of it has to do with whether it catches on or not. And yeah, that goes back to the marketing. Is it the right marketing and all of that? But it's not. I guess my point is, it's not like if you build it, they will come, right?
I totally agree.
They have to want it first.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like this is the wave, and starting a couple of years ago,
Right.
and I hate to put the whole thing on Caitlin Clark's shoulders, but I feel like everybody's doing that anyway.
Right.
It's like with her coming, it's like, okay, there you go. Here's your wave, ride it, because she's it, and people are obsessed with her, and make it a thing right now, and get everybody on board, like while the iron's hot and all that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, her, but really it's Angel Reese.
I know, right? And the me bounds,
right?
This is not Angel Reese. Like,
there was an AI video. I just saw this yesterday of Angel Reese. It said Angel Reese practicing basketball or whatever, and she's on the ground laying bricks, like placing bricks on the ground. Like doing masonry, So
I wish I had her level of confidence, genuinely.
Yeah. Well,
because I don't. Or delusion.
Arrogance.
Delusion. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's a combination.
Because when I keep seeing, and we will all stop complaining about her in a second, when I keep seeing that she's breaking records for most rebounds in a season or like, a triple-double or something like this. And then I look, and when you watch the replay, this is one of those things that I had never, not to be mean, I mean, I had heard of her, like because I had followed college basketball anyway, like men's and women's. So I had heard of her, but I'd never actually watched her, like clips of her until the NBA or the WNBA. And oh my word, these are so painful to watch as she misses layup after layup after layup. And I'm like, how do you have the confidence that you have when this is what you look like
That's
when you're playing? It blows my mind.
Well, think about it, though, even if you think back when you played basketball, okay?
Happy boxing grass so hard. Absolutely.
You had I'm thinking of one kid in particular. You had specific kids who their parents thought they were the greatest in the world. And they just, it didn't matter how bad they were, they told them that. And the kid kept shooting, brick after brick after brick. They could have built the Empire State Building. They shot so many bricks. But so it's kind of like that, you know what I mean? It's and I don't know, maybe that's how you get ahead.
Maybe. I want to make it clear, she's just one of many people in sports that I hate.
Yeah.
Because they're so, I mean, we've already talked about like Juan Soto and stuff, and it's like when you see him at the plate and he, hits it and walks to first base. I could get paid $89,000 an at bat to do that too. Like I could get paid whatever she's paying to miss layup after layup in a game. Like that's what, like it's hard.
We should
man.
We should start watching more of the women's basketball games, actually, I think.
I would
the
love
WNBA.
to.
I'm not kidding. I seriously would like to watch more of those. The only other thought I have, one other thought. This was from a while ago. I was thinking of this. I would be interested to know, and I'd kind of be surprised if there hasn't been at least one study on this. Okay, regardless of if it's men or women, like if you took, let's say out of college, right? You took 100, 1,000, you'd want a big enough number so it could be a valid study. But you started by blindly rating all these people on their appearance, right? So from a 1 to a 10, right? This person's, they kind of drew the short stick when it came to appearance. They're a 1. And this person's like a knockout. They are a 10, right? Rate those. Then, and obviously, then send them all on interviews. Right? Job interviews, and record that. Record how they do on the job interviews. And, you would have to capture other information too, obviously, like their academic background, their grade level, their, basically their ability to conduct an interview, to you know what I mean? Their social, I guess, ability. But I would be really, really, really interested to see how that goes. Because if you find out that there's a direct correlation between appearance and, well, that's if I had to take a guess, and I think most people, if they had to take a guess, would be like, yes, there is. Okay. So if there's a direct correlation there and you find there's a direct correlation there, what do? Do you actually create something that says if you can prove that you didn't get an interview or that they wouldn't see you maybe before the interview, but that if you didn't get that job just because you are a 2 and this person you interviewed against is a 9.
Okay. So I'm obviously only speaking for myself right now in my response. I don't know how the majority of people in this country would respond to that, or women versus men and all this. I, as a solid 8.5, I think the issue is because what you're describing is something kind of like you're alluding to that how do you fix it? It's not something that's easily fixed. You can't say, well, you can't have an opinion of someone based on their appearance. That's illegal, right? Yeah, it's not how it works. What's frustrating for me, and part of the reason that I got a little heated earlier in this discussion, is I am a woman of little needs, okay, and few
you
wants.
Me of Winnie
and
the Pooh,
I want
a bear of little brain or whatever.
Okay, that's just rude. And all I want as a person, because realistically, again, the stuff you're talking about and the stuff I'm talking about, a lot of what I'm talking about, like I said, is subconscious stuff. It's stuff that you can't just fix it by passing legislation or something like that. All I want is some acknowledgement that this stuff exists.
Right.
And then I'll be fine. I'll feel better because I'll be like, okay, good. So we're all aware now that this is not a level playing field, and I can carry on about my day knowing that we all agree it's not a level playing field. That's all I want. I don't want any of this like stuff that radical feminists want. I'm not trying to tear down the patriarchy. I'm not trying to pass legislation about like weird stuff. I just want people to acknowledge that this stuff exists. Okay? Going back really quickly to the NBA and the WNBA, I literally just saw this morning or yesterday. Because my whole argument with them is, and going back to soccer, like I started, the U.S. women's soccer team makes way, way less money than the men's team does. Like brings in, okay? They're I mean, well, now they're kind of shaky because they have new team and stuff. Historically, they've been much better than the men's team, which is why this was also frustrating because like, well, the women's team is so much better, yet they get paid so much less. Because they don't bring in as many viewers. It's economics, right?
Right.
With the NBA versus the WNBA, which the NBA has like a 50% stake in the WNBA or something, like an investing. Anyway, the players in the NBA receive, and I believe I'm getting these numbers correctly, 50% of what the league brings in. 50% of that goes to the players. In the WNBA, it's 10% goes to the players of what gets brought in, okay? So I think really the only argument you could have for that is because you could look at it as still kind of a struggling business trying to get off the ground.
And it's like
you need more. Well, I'm just telling you, these are numbers that I just read yesterday or
I'm not
today or whatever.
I'm not questioning it.
But so what I'm saying is you could argue, yeah, we need to put more of this money back in to really keep growing this and all that. I think that's a decent argument. However, numbers also don't lie. At some point, that either needs to even out, or we need to admit that the WNBA is just not going to be as profitable as we want it to be.
Well, is that based on the gross revenue or the profit?
I don't remember. This is a very quick thing that I was reading.
But
whatever it is, it's the same. It's the same metric for the men's and the women.
But what I'm saying is, in any business, right? You have overhead. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're making enough to barely cover the overhead, let's say you're making $1,000, but your overhead's $900. Then you only have $100 left.
So that was my point, was saying you could argue that if we're looking at the WNBA as kind of like a burgeoning business, yeah, a lot of that money needs to go back into it for that reason. That's what I was saying.
Right.
But
there's not as much free cash flow.
At some point, that either needs to even out, or I don't know.
And here's the thing too, right?
What?
If Caitlin Clark turns around and says, no, I'm not making enough, right?
Yeah.
you need to pay me 5 times what you're paying me, okay? They're going to, within reason, okay, they're going to try to pay her what she wants because she's drawing viewers to the entire league. you know? Like right now, she's the one person. There's no one in the NBA right now that I would say percentage-wise has the draw that she does, right?
Yeah.
So you have the top players in the NBA, but that's the point. There were a whole bunch of top players. The average person, they know Caitlin Clark. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if they start watching it, they're going to get familiar. They're going to start to like other players and all of that. But I guess that's the point. I think the top person has to be the one to kind of push things. It's the same thing happens in men's sports, right? Where you have now this guy's the top player, now this one's the top player, and every single one, it's like this is ridiculous how much they're paying these people, but they keep getting it, and it's kind of like. But it'll take a while to get there, and I agree with what you said.
Yeah, and I think it's just having the right things in place to make sure that we're on track to do that and to get there and to get to a spot where because here's the thing, am I suggesting that the WNBA will ever be as popular as the NBA or even surpass it? I personally don't see that happening.
Right.
But I think it could get a lot further than where it is now.
I think that's
something to shoot for.
I think
no pun intended.
I think it's probably a stretch, but you never know. You never know because I think it has to do with the players. I thought of what I forgot about before. That's
okay. Can I just really quickly say?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're going to forget. Go ahead. Actually,
sorry, I am because I started to.
But then
forget
I'll come
again.
back around to this.
Because we were talking about the whole basically stay-at-home mom thing or whatever, right? Here's the thing that I don't get. I don't get this at all. I feel like if there are two people and they decide to have a family, right? Husband and wife decide to have a family. I think it's weird that they both say they both want to work and then they're going to send their kids to childcare, right? From like almost from the time they're born or they're a couple weeks old. Because I feel like I feel like these kids are not going to turn out well because the people that are taking care of them from the time they're very young then don't really, and this sounds horrible, there are a lot of good people that work in childcare, but there's no way they care about your kid as much as you should, and they have, I don't know, what, a dozen, even if it's a smaller number, half a dozen, whatever to start off with. You just, so that part I don't get. I'm not saying it has to be the mother.
Right.
I'm saying it might be the mother, might be the father, but I feel like one of them has to be able to spend, or both of them. Maybe they split it up. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I think ideally you should have one or both of your parents that are actively raising you. I guess you could say that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
First of all, you have the one end of the spectrum, which is super rich people that just pay for nannies and want to live their lives and or are working and all that. So that's one end of the spectrum. But literally the opposite end of the spectrum is people that cannot afford to not work.
Yeah, but
so they can't stay home with their child.
I just don't understand that because then you can't afford to stay home, but you're paying someone else.
Or maybe they're not.
Seems so screwy.
Maybe they're not though. Maybe they're dropping their children off with their grandparents for the day or at like their brother's or their sister's house.
I mean, and that's better. And don't get me wrong, when you guys were little, I mean, for the most part, your mother was not. She was working part-time at different times and she was right. So she spent a lot of time with you, but you also did spend time at either of your grandparents and stuff like that. But I feel like the idea of now don't get me wrong. Once you guys got to preschool, I felt like, okay, then you're to a point where, you can go somewhere in it for a couple hours. But the idea of when you were just first born, like taking you somewhere and to what is kind of like a stranger. I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like it's a societal problem.
I agree with you 100%, but I also think that situationally, I think it's a luxury to be able to spend time like with your child when they're, in some cases, situationally. This is not a family conversation.
I know we can't keep going on this because this would be a whole nother episode, but just really quickly, I mean, if it's a luxury, doesn't it seem weird that, I don't know, back in the 50s or 40s or whatever, we could afford that luxury somehow, and now we can't.
But, were many as many women in the workforce in the 50s as there are now?
No, not at all. But part of the reason is because they didn't have to be.
I know, but so that's what I'm saying. Now they do.
Right, and I think that's that's a problem. I think something that in the beginning women looked at as like liberation has kind of become now a responsibility.
There's such funny videos online where it's like, I can't even think of how they go now, but it's basically like, it's a woman on her way to work or like getting ready to go to work or whatever. And it's like, me, if I ever see my great grandmother that fought for me to be able to go to work, it's like, getting ready to start a fight.
I guess that's and then we should probably end this, but I guess that's the point is like, having the freedom to do what you want to do. You lose that freedom if you're forced because of economics and financial situation to have to work. It's just so screwy. But then, and that's what bothers me is like, okay, so now we want the government to do more for us, and the only way we can pay for it is by the women and men both having all of us have to work now to be able to pay for quote unquote free stuff. It's like the screwiest thing.
The screwy thing. I was going to say, did you see that there's a WNBA team coming to Philadelphia in 2030?
No, is it just for one game?
Yeah.
Okay.
For one night only. No, I'm just kidding. There are two other ones that are before that, but I don't remember where they were. But obviously, I'm just excited about the Philly one.
It's crazy to think that there's not a team in Philadelphia
I know, but because I listen to, it's called Morning Brew Daily. I think I've told you this before. In the morning, they're so good. You should listen to them. Sponsored by Morning Brew Daily. Just kidding. That would be a dream. Anyway, they're so good. You should listen to them. But they were talking because they're from that area, like the two hosts that do this. Well, one of them is, the other one's from Florida, but the one is like a big Philly fan and all that. And how he started the podcast, like introducing the women's Philly team, was basically saying something along the lines of, Philly basketball fans now have something to look forward to and can hope that now we'll have a team that won't constantly disappoint us or something like that. So.
Yeah. Is there any chance that one comes to Orlando?
That wasn't on the thing, but we would root for Philly anyway.
That wasn't on your bingo card?
How about that trash situation in Philly? Oh, my word.
I don't know. Yeah, I only know about that.
Have you seen any videos?
No.
Oh my God. I'll show you some videos.
You told me.
Cut the tape.
This is outtakes now. Yeah, we'll keep going and these will be outtakes. So the trash situation.
This is two episodes. I need to cut this in the middle.
Oh, okay.
It's an hour.
I have to pull up some of those videos.
Let me show you a video now. This will be the outtake. Is me showing you this video. Oh wait, Caitlin sent me a picture. What is it?
Oh, I better check, see if I have any messages or... Oh, darn it.
What?
Yeah, Uncle Brian. No, I had said something to Uncle Brian about calling me.
Philly.
You know what? I'm free for the next while. If
Philly.
7:18. What time?
Philly trash strike.
I'm going to go so
Look
I can call Uncle Brian.
Ignore the language, obviously. This is one of the trash drop-offs in Philly. Where, you're supposed to go and literally just drop all your trash on this. It's insane. I don't know what. Look at this.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like, stuff like that's ridiculous. So, anyway.
That was fun.
Goodbye.
Let's do it again.